Metal Up World, this is CJ, the Metal Motivator, with cjortiz.com and metalmotivation.com. This is the first of a new 5-message series I'm doing this week on how to change your thought life. This is all being shown in my Life Domination online coaching program, which you can learn more about if you visit the link below. But how to change your thought life. I have always contended that if you can control your mind, you can control your life. If you can master your thoughts for the next 12 hours, you can master them for the next 12 years. These little increments, these little changes that you make to your daily life have lasting impact for the years to come. But nothing will make so great an impact on your life as disciplining your thought life. Now, what do I mean by thought life? Well, essentially, you have two lives that you live. There is the life that you live that everybody sees. When you go to work, when you go to school, when you're at your house, when you're doing things, that's the life that everyone else sees. But there's another life going on, and that is the life that goes on in your mind. Plenty of conversations going on right now in your mind. So there is your physical life and there is your thought life. What is your thought life like? What is it that goes on in your mind? Are you tormented in your mind? Are you constantly finding yourself dwelling on your negative circumstances? Are you someone who's always confused, always stressed out? Are you someone who tends to talk themselves out of things? Are you someone who quits easily? Are you someone who is tormented in their mind? Do you get easily overwhelmed with too many things? Well, this is your thought life. Everything is determined by what's going on between your ears. Now, we know that our thought life controls our physical life because our emotions and our bodies will consistently follow the direction of our thinking. Now, think about this. If you are routinely stressed in your mind, if you are routinely taxed in your thinking, it's going to show up in what you do. It's going to show up in physical challenges. It's going to show up in adrenaline that keeps you up at night. A lot of people are tormenting themselves by what goes on in their thought life. Therefore, if we can change your thinking, we can consistently change your life, because for the person who's not moved by their circumstances, for the person who's not tormented, it all comes down to their mind, not their circumstances. Circumstances don't mean much of anything. The issue is, are you strong mentally, or are you challenged with having a strong mindset and a determined state of mind? And someone who understands the power of negative thinking, who understands the power of positive thinking. That a well-regulated mind, a mind that's dominated with problem solving and learning and meditation and research and troubleshooting and just positive statements. All of these things are working together to make a strong mindset. The same is true in the opposite. The same is true in the negative. If your thoughts are always scattered, if your thoughts are going in 50 different directions, if your thoughts are always challenged with negativity, if they're always challenged with depression, if they're always challenged with a distorted point of view about all of your circumstances, well, then that's the end result of what you're going to feel. That's going to have an impact on your actions. That's going to have an impact on your relationships, your career. Everything in your life is going to be touched by your thought life. It's not our circumstances so much that are bad. It's what we think and believe about our circumstances that make things really bad. If we allow our thinking to be continually bent towards the negative, we can easily turn our setbacks into endless misery. Isn't that true? Something that is a setback can become misery for you simply because of your thought life. Therefore, the discipline of your mind should be your focus. There's simply nothing more important than governing your thought life. There's simply nothing more important than learning to discipline your mind. Your overall self-improvement, nothing is more important than disciplining your thought life. Everything that you've ever dreamed of, Everything that you have ever thought possible begins with your next thought. Everything. You could literally, you have a million opportunities every day to change your life forever. Think about it that way. Every day you've got a million opportunities to change your life for the better and keep it that way. You may fail, right? You may fall back into your old ways of thinking. But what happens to you from here on out begins with your next thought. And that's really what I want to leave you with today. What is your next thought? Because your attitude, everything is going to be determined by your next thought, which means, and this is an action step for you today, the first thing I want you to do, the first thing you need to do in terms of getting control of your thought life is to guard and protect your mind. That means reject every negative thought when it first appears in your mind. I say this a lot. Reject every negative thought when it first appears in your mind. Why? Because that is when that thought is the weakest, right? When is our negative thought the weakest? When it first appears in your mind. So the best way to destroy that negative thinking is to attack it when it first appears, when it first seeks entry and residency in your mind to plant itself and root itself and become a fortress that you cannot get rid of. You stop it when it first appears because that is when it is the weakest. So this is important. What we do with our thought life, we've got to change it. Change it so that we can make tremendous changes in our life. So let me give you the rundown of what we're doing through the rest of this 5-message series. In episode 2, we're going to talk about protecting your mind from media. I want you to think about this for a second. The average person can watch up to 5 hours of television per day. That is 76 days per year spent on television. And that doesn't even include things like social media. Think about that. 76 days a year spent on television. And television is a passive position. So you're being constantly bombarded with media, from social media, television, etc. These things constantly bombard you, and the end result is a passive mind. Your mind starts to atrophy. It becomes more weak. You become more challenged. It's much, much more difficult to regulate your mind when they're constantly dominated by media. Episode 3, we're going to talk about using your mouth to control your mind. A lot of people struggle with mind control. They struggle with governing their thought life. But what they forget is there are powerful tools that you have right now with you. And one of them is your mouth. That your thoughts will follow your consistent speech. So I've got some tips and tricks that you can do to really regulate your thoughts. Anytime you find your most confusing time, your most depressed time, and I'm going to show you how you can use the power of your words to immediately start to change the way you feel. It's really, really awesome. Episode 4, we're going to talk about using the power of meditation as our mind workouts. Just like you go to the gym, right? Train your body, prepare your body. You'll be able to go into your place, your private place, and use meditation as a mental workout, training for your mind. We're going to talk about some powerful principles in relation to daily meditation. And then in episode 5, we're going to talk about kicking out the mind squatters. Mind squatters, those are the people and things in your life that are trying to take up residency in your mind. We don't realize how other people are dead set on taking up residency in your head. How do they do that? Through guilt, through manipulation, through burdening you with their problems, right? They want you to be occupied with them. They want you to be occupied with their needs. Well, you can't carry everybody else's burden, man. I know you'd like to think you can. I know you'd love to help people, but you can't carry everybody's burden, right? So be leery of mind squatters, those who try to take up residency in your mind. So I want you to join me all this week in the Life Domination Coaching Program of how to control your thought life, how to get control, how to change it so it works for you instead of against you. Now, if you want to see the rest of these videos, you have to join me in the Life Domination online coaching program. What's that? It is an online coaching program. It all takes place on Facebook. So I have a private Facebook group for this group. So that means you can do the whole thing on your smartphone. You never even have to get off your phone to be able to do this. But you sign up for it. It's a private Facebook group that I oversee, I administrate, so that means you and I get to work together. The best part is that you're in there with a bunch of other people just like you, just as committed, just as motivated, just as determined to make a difference in their own lives. That means there's no negativity, man. No naysayers, no haters, no trolls, none of that stuff. Just positive people who would love to have you in that group. So just visit the link below, mentalmotivation.com/Life Domination to learn more about it. And again, I would love to see you there. This is CJ, the Mental Motivator. And remember, in whatever you do, don't suck. Metal up.